During this episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, I'll be discussing subject matter that could be emotionally triggering for many. Matters of physical and sexual trauma will be mentioned, so if you're not emotionally stable enough to hear or discuss such matters, please tune in or listen to another episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. You're listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, where I'll be giving valuable insight and thought provoking perspectives about the connections between our hair and how we live our daily lives. I know that many of you have heard people talking about Jerry curls and pressing curls, high top fades and sporting waves, the best products for your hair, and so much more. But what you haven't heard is how our hair can be a full reflection of what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our minds, what's going on in our bodies, and what's going on in our souls. I'm your host, Darius Peace, and I'm excited to be your weekly guide on the journey to having better hair and a better life. I try to make sure that I live my life as an example and a positive demonstration of manhood for my family and for my community. But just to be more emphatic, I'm really referring to my wife and kids when I say my family. It's important to me that each one of us has a clear understanding and an active practice of peace, love, and respect in every area of our lives. And like a lot of parents, I want to live. Well, I know my wife and I both share this. We want to live with the confidence and the security of knowing that our children are safe when they're away from us and that they're fully equipped to make the best decisions for themselves as we release them into any form of independence. And I guess and any form meaning like release them into college, release them into, trips or camps or anything like that. But I guess the truth of the matter is that all we can do is give the love and the knowledge and the values and the empowerment that we have to give and really just hope for the best. So there have been a lot of cases over the last few years surrounding domestic abuse and sexual abuse. And I got to admit, like, of all of the ones that I've heard over the years, the one that involves Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura has had a much bigger effect on me than all the rest. And I think that it's probably had such a large effect because I was able to see it. Like, watching that video triggered so much trauma for me. And I'm sure a lot of us share in those same thoughts and sentiments. Like, it was very triggering. And to see him the way he was hitting her, like as if she was his physical equal, and the way he was kicking her and pounding her and dragging her. It was I just it was so absurd to me. And I kept asking myself after viewing the outrage and the torture, that he was showing as he was beating on her, like, what made her stay for as long as she did? What did she need? What were her needs? What made her so needy that kept her locked into that specific relationship? And could her upbringing have had anything to do with it? I mean, could her upbringing have offered her more to prevent this? What happened to him? Like, what happened in his past, or even present, that made him so comfortable with abusing her the way that she did? I mean, the way that he did, and was this a common occurrence for him? Was this a common occurrence for them? But we'll discuss this. We'll discuss this right after a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Danielle Hines, the owner and founder of Creed 63. Creed 63 is located in the Arthur Shores Law Center in the Birmingham Civil Rights District. Creed 63 does 4 things for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have a podcast studio, co-working space, virtual offices, and private offices. Stop by anytime you are in the Civil Rights District to see how Creed 63 can help you grow and expand your small business. You can find us at creed63.com.
So I've always considered myself to be a pretty noble guy, and noble meaning that I carry myself as a gentleman and I showcase high deference and respect for women. And having watched my mama experience both domestic and misogynistic abuse, that is that's what really influenced me into choosing the gentleman lifestyle. And when I say gentleman, I'm talking about I'm the guy who is going to open the door for a woman. I'm the guy who is going to stand beside a woman or allow her to walk in front of me, but I'm not good with women walking behind me or and I do all of these things as as a sign and a showcase of respect, protection, and control. Being in control of the situation or the environment or the atmosphere, letting them know that I am here to protect and guide. That doesn't mean that I can't be protected or be guided, but that's what my gentleman actions represent and demonstrate. And so I'm very intentional about making it my best effort to make women feel safe in any space that I share with them. And I usually lose connection with guys who will collectively engage in dialogue or practices that degrade women in any way, shape, or form. And I do that because at the end of the day, I'm somebody's husband and I'm somebody's daddy and I'm my mama's son, and I'm the nephew to my aunts. And there are women in my life who mean everything, and I don't want to be hypocritical in the sense of I showcase respect and deference only to the women who matter to me, but everybody else is just bitches and hoes or just walk in pussy. And that's not good. So when I refer to myself as a gentleman, it's because I behave in a way that is contrary or antithetical to that lifestyle. So, misogynistic abuse, I just mentioned misogynistic abuse. And so, misogyny, for those who may not know what the formal definition of that word is, and this is coming from Wikipedia, this is not coming from me, it's not coming from Webster's, this is Wiki. It says that misogyny is the hatred of, the contempt for, or prejudice against women or girls. It is a form of sexism that can keep women at a lower social status than men, thus maintaining the social roles of patriarchy. And an example or different examples of misogyny would be violence against women, and this violence includes domestic violence, misogynistic terrorism, which is most extreme form. That could be forcing girls to be mutilated with. I know that there are some countries in the world, third world countries, where girls are forced to cut off their clitoris organs so that there's no sexual pleasure or satisfaction. And of course, that is definitely a showcase of misogynist terrorism. Femicide, getting rid of women, just in a mass murder showcase. And misogyny also often operates through sexual harassment or coercion, psychological techniques aimed at controlling women, or by legally or socially excluding women from full citizenship. And there are a lot of different things, but I got that from Wikipedia, and I wanted to define that so that people wouldn't get lost, or you wouldn't get lost in hearing me reference misogynistic abuse, because that is the abuse that is coming from men to women. I've seen my daddy abuse not just my mama, but I've seen him abuse every woman that he's brought around us. And I'm talking about whooping ass. Like, he has beat up every woman that he's brought around me and my brothers. And it's so interesting because neither me nor my brothers are abusive men. We are not domestically violent or abusive to our wives at all. And I'm really grateful for that, because that's what we saw. We saw so much of that. And again, I didn't just see him whooping on my mama. I also saw him whipping on other people's mamas. And that was probably the most traumatic of all of it to me. The trauma of watching him beat on women that go beyond my mama. I remember he was dating one woman. They called her Gucci. And Gucci had a son and a daughter, and the son was a little older than us, and daughter was, I guess, my age. And I remember one night we were staying with my dad and Gucci and her kids lived together, and so we were all there at their house, and shit just popped off in the middle of the night, and my daddy just started beating up Gucci, and her children were so traumatized. Her son was looking for weapons to try to fight my daddy off, and the daughter was screaming to the top of her lungs, of course, trying to help her mom. Just hysterical. And my brothers and I, of course, we were crying and screaming, but we were kind of paralyzed in place because we were so afraid and already previously traumatized by my daddy's behavior towards women. And it was so bad. It was just such a bad situation. And I don't remember if I told my mama about what happened over there or not. I can't remember. It seems like I would have, but I just don't remember whether I did or not. But that was a situation that was really horrible. Just watching my dad just whoop on Gucci like he did, and I've seen him hit on several other women like that, and all the relationships would end afterwards. But I mean, just sorry, just horrible. Um, I remember my mama getting a call in the middle of the night from her best friend, and it was a really dramatic and traumatic situation where she was very, I mean, she just got loud with it, and her best friend called her telling her that she was headed to the hospital because her child's father had broke her door down and beaten her up to near paralysis. And my mom was so shaken up, and so she just left in the middle of the night to go and care for her best friend, who we called our aunt. And that was just seeing my mom shaken up like that was just horrible. I've heard many of my friends over the years express hurt from trauma experience that involved domestic violence, and some cases molestation, and in some cases even sex trafficking. One of my friends mentioned a situation where she was with her grandfather as a little girl, and her granddaddy asked her to sit on his lap and play a game with her called Find the Potato. And so he told her to put her hand in his pocket to find the potato. And when she did it, the potato was his penis and not an actual potato. And she said that that was so traumatizing for her, like traumatizing. And when she told her mom about it, they never went to see her grandfather again. That was the last time that she saw her granddaddy. And everyone isn't so fortunate to have their parents believe them or even take their side when they confess to that type of trauma involving family members. So I'm really glad that her mom fixed the situation by making sure that she never had to see her grandfather again, because that was horrible. And I don't think that, there was enough family counseling or therapy that they could have together, group therapy that would remedy that situation and that type of trauma. I do believe that the best thing for them to do in that situation was to keep her away from him. Because if that's what the granddaughter was experiencing, who knows what the daughter experienced from her dad. So, that was just a really bad situation. I remember one of my homeboys informed me of a situation where him and his brothers were being fondled by their babysitter, who was a female. The babysitter would make him and his brothers pull down their pants so that she could pull on their penises and masturbate them. And this was them as little boys. This is not them as, teenagers or anything like that. These were prepubescent little boys. And I'm not sure how long that lasted. And I don't even know whether he ever told anybody besides me about it. And of course, we were grown men by the time he, let me know about this. But, I just thought that that was horrible. And really, throughout the course of my career, I've had countless people confide in me with these vulnerable topics, and I never take them lightly. I'm very aware that my best contribution to helping people move forward in these situations is by directing them to experts and trained resources to best accommodate whatever their issues and concerns may be. I remember years ago participating in a workshop here in Birmingham. It was presented by AIDS Alabama. It was called Beauty in Knowing. And it was one of the best workshop conference experiences that I've ever had in my career. And I count myself very fortunate to have participated in that. If you're ever snooping around online and you find a photo of me being blindfolded, putting condoms on dildos, please do not be alarmed, because that was actually me at that workshop participating in an exercise during one of the conference sessions. And again, it was a really great workshop because it was geared towards hairstylists and barbers and making sure that we were equipped with information regarding where to direct people in situations of domestic violence or abuse or rape or any type of abuse, where to send people regarding getting counseling and therapy, letting people know about healthcare options that were out there for them to access so that they wouldn't be around here sick with no treatments, and then getting people registered to vote. Like, there were so many. I think there was some financial literacy in there too, but it was a really good conference. And I count myself very fortunate to have been a part of it. And of course, I know now that there really is beauty in knowing, because that was the name. The name of the conference was Beauty in Knowing. And there is beauty in knowing how to move forward in managing the trauma that comes along with abuse or situations, whatever hands were dealt in life. It just gave us the guided steps to help usher people into better situations. And so going to that conference really did enhance my career in ways that I couldn't have even imagined. And there are people, a lot of people who refer to hair care pros, barbers, hairstylists. They call us counselors and they call us therapists, because so many people will come and speak with us and confide in us, with their unique showcases of vulnerability and transparency. But I personally never accept being referred to as a counselor or a therapist. And that's because I know and work with so many professional counselors and therapists that's being a counselor or therapist is a learned and trained skill that I don't undervalue in any way, shape, or form. And I haven't been trained or educated in a sense that will allow me to be able to handle different situations or scenarios that people may bring my way. And that's why this conference was so important, because now I do know where to guide people so that they can get the help that they need so that they can be better. I think that that's important for all hair care pros. I think it's important that we're equipped with specific knowledge and resources to help guide our clients and other people in our influence into directions towards resources that'll give them just overall better life experiences. And we're already helping them with better hair experiences, so why not make it just a holistic life thing? Sometimes we don't even know, that we need to offer directions for help, because we may not even recognize that people may be in abusive situations. So I want to talk about some examples of what abuse looks like and the different forms that abuse can take, so that when we hear different scenarios and different stories, whether we're talking to our friends or whether we're talking to our families, and this isn't exclusively for hairstylists and barbers, this is for everybody who may be in conversation with someone who may be confiding in them about situations of abuse. So there's sexual abuse. And sexual abuse is abuse where you're forced to participate in non-consensual acts, and that includes sexual assault, rape, demeaning behaviors, infidelity, exploitation, or what have you. Those are all forms of sexual abuse. We've got physical abuse, and those are any behaviors that directly harm you physically, including violence such as assault, withholding needs like food, sleep, housing, even cell phone. I remember hearing a situation where there was elderly abuse, where the elderly person was having their cell phone withdrawn from them so that if there was a need to contact someone for help or assistance or guidance, they couldn't do it. And that was definitely a form of physical abuse. There's isolation. Isolation is a form of abuse in which you're prevented from seeing family, seeing friends, or even attending social events because you're being forced away. There's control abuse, which is eliminating freedom by controlling you from making your own choices, checking on you obsessively, dictating just your clothing or your style choices, using your children as leverage. Those are, that type of control abuse. There's emotional abuse, where the abuser may be targeting your insecurities or vulnerabilities, brainwashing you. There's verbal abuse, using words to threaten, blame, or demean you, screaming at you, flying into rages verbally. And then there's male privilege, adhering to cultural beliefs that men must be dominant over women. That falls into the category of misogynistic abuse or misogyny. And then there's economic abuse, where your partner has complete control over your spending and your income and may squander all the money or all your money on non-essentials. That could be drugs or gambling or, excessive shopping, whatever an addiction may be. So if you're out here listening to this episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, or you know someone who's experiencing any form of abuse, be it domestic violence, sexual abuse, or any form, please seek help. I'm going to call out a short list of resources that can help. But please, take advantage of these resources. And if you're someone out there who is the abuser, stop that shit. Get it together. Get some help. Get away. Do something. But stop it. Stop what it is that you're doing. Had to take a breath on that one. So here's my list, y'all. If Psych Central is where I first talked about the different forms of violence and abuse. And so that's where that came from. That website is psychcentral.com. That's PSYCH central.com. The next one is domestic violence support. You can actually do it as hotline.com. And that one, the helphotline.com. And that's for people who are experiencing domestic violence and they need just something really easy that they can remember and access. That's helphotline.com. Healthy relationships for young adults is something that you can Google just to learn more about managing help for young adults. That website is loveisrespect.com. Loveisrespect.com. And then the YWCA all over the United States of America is a resource that women can take advantage of, especially if you're involved in a situation of domestic violence or sexual abuse with children. The YWCA will house you and keep you and get you linked to resources that will help you get on your feet and be able to operate independently of your abuser. So anyway, these are all resources to help you have a better life. And of course, I am here to help you have better hair along with that. I am Darius Peace, and always remember, your hair ain't nappy, and my hair ain't nappy either. Until next time.
Visit HayaBeauty.com. That's HAYAH beauty.com, or give us a call 205-703-8022 for questions, for information, or to book your appointment.
Beauty can take you higher. The mission is to inspire. I am, I was, and I always will be. Beauty higher. Beauty can take you higher. The mission is to inspire. And I always choose to start my day with higher beauty.
Thank you for listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. Reach out to us on social media. We're on TikTok and we're on Instagram at the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. We want to hear your stories. Until next time, love you and love your hair.